Welcome back, you degenerate Honkai Star Rail players. With the new event, Hanu's Prison Break, you're able to pick from 4 different free 4-star characters. Which one should you pick? Well, good question. Let's touch on that. Gwen here is going to be the first character we're touching on. And if you look at her kit overall, you're going to see a lot of this burn, making you think that maybe she's only good in a damage over time focused nihility squad. And that's not exactly the case because of her very important other aspect of her kit that does deal with burns that she can put on, and this is her Fire Kiss debuff. Now, Fire Kiss is going to be a very amazing debuff. It's going to make enemies take more damage per Fire Kiss that they have procced on them, and the Fire Kiss debuff itself does last 3 turns. And this is a huge thing because you can stack this up to 3 times, meaning that your enemies can take up to 21% increased damage for 3 turns. And she's always going to be applying burns with basically everything that she does, whether you're using your ultimate or you're using your technique outside of combat to enter combat with burns, or you're just using your own abilities. You're going to be landing burns on enemies with Gwen, and this is going to allow every character in your party to do up to basically permanently 21% damage over the course of the entire fight, meaning that not only is she a very solid damage over time nihility character, but she's also just a very solid supportive aspect member as well. So she's got a lot of cool stuff that you could utilize if you want to pull up maybe some constellations for her. Maybe you don't want to have any of the characters as a brand new character of the ones that you can pick out of this event. Maybe you're looking at some specific Idolons. Her Idolon 1 here is going to give some effect resistance down when you use her skill, which is okay. Her Idolon 2 is going to increase the burn status multiplier of her basic attack or skill by 40% when they are burned, which is okay. It's nothing crazy. The big ones here, though, are the Idolon 4, which is going to give you some energy every time the burn status is inflicted and does damage, which is very nice. And then Idolon number 6 here is going to give Fire Kiss the ability to stack up to 4 times instead of 3 times, basically giving you another 7%, taking the cap of Fire Kiss from 21% damage increase up to 28%. So Gwen is a pretty solid option if you're looking for either someone to use in a damage over time team, as she does a lot of burns herself, or if you're just looking for someone to buff up the damage that your characters can do and you're looking for a nihility character in that slot. Now, Sampo is also a character you can pick here, and he was one of the original characters launched with Honkai Star Rail. Sampo is another nihility focused damage over time character. Unlike Gwen, though, he really focuses in on doing wind shear and applying toughness break to all of your enemies, all using amazing abilities like his ultimate, the surprise present, and he's got a couple of cool constellations that we want to go over as well, or I guess I should call them Idolons in this game, my bad. But he's got a new resurgence of a team party with the newly released Black Swan. Works very well with that character, works very well in teams with Kafka, and he also works very well in Ruin May teams with a combination of the characters we just talked about. There are a couple amazing Idolons that you want to talk about when looking at Sampo. The big ones are going to, I mean, basically they're all good. All right, let's be honest with you. They're all pretty good here. With Idolon 1 giving you an extra hit when you use your skill, Idolon 2 is going to apply wind shear to all enemies when you defeat an enemy, which is pretty nice. The big ones, though, are actually Idolon 4 as well as Idolon 6. So Idolon 4 is a lot better than what you might initially read it as. It does read when the skill hits an enemy with 5 or more stacks of wind shear, the enemy immediately takes 8% of wind shear damage. You might be thinking 8% is not that big of a deal, but the key thing here is that when your skill hits an enemy. So remember, we already have Idolon 1, obviously, because we're on Idolon 4, and your elemental skill does hit multiple times already. So if you are using your skill, each time it hits and bounces around is going to do 8% of current wind shear damage, meaning that if you have 2 targets that both already have 5 stacks of wind shear and you're bouncing this around, you're looking at about 48% of your wind shear damage, making this a very amazing Idolon to pick up for your Sampo. Then Idolon 6 here is just gonna give your increased damage of wind shear by 15%, which is decent. The biggest one, though, is that Idolon 4. So if you're looking for someone to use with your Black Swan, maybe you just came into Honkai Star Rail, you pull for Black Swan and you don't have access to Sampo yet, he's a very good character to pick up for a Black Swan focused team. Now, Yukong is the feast or famine character that you can pick, all right? I'm just gonna put it out there for you. She is feast or famine. Now, if you're looking at an Idolon 0 Yukong, listen, she does a lot of cool things. You can do some awesome stuff with her in Simulated Universe as well, but the way that she works, she's just kind of clunky and very hard to fully utilize at Idolon 0. She does do a good amount of damage on her own, even though she is a Harmony character, and she does offer up some very nice buffs to your team with her Roaring Bowstrings, giving a large amount of attack bonus and then factoring in a ton of crit rate and crit damage bonus for your team with her ultimate Divine Kestrel. The thing that makes her really weak at Idolon 0 is that you have to sort of speed tune her properly with all of your DPSs, and there's so much randomness to this because you have to actually have some of your stacks from your skill up when you actually use your ultimate. If you don't have Roaring Bowstrings active when you use the ultimate, you don't get the crit chance, you don't get the crit damage, and this is fixed from some of her Idolons, mainly the Idolon 6, meaning that once you have Idolon 6, you can just use your ultimate whenever you want. You don't have to worry about speed tuning correctly. You don't have to worry about, characters getting pushed back or pushed up and not being in the right order anymore. And that's really the main thing to take away with Yukong, is that she's very, very powerful, but very, very, very hard to use. So if you're a brand new player, I would not recommend going for this character. She does have some other cool Idolons giving you an extra little speed increase, so it's easier for you to speed tune your Yukong with some of your other characters, so she goes before them, so you can get the Roaring Bowstrings up and active, so you can give attack, crit chance, and crit damage to everybody. Her Idolon 2 is going to give you extra energy, so you can build her for more damage and less energy recharge. And then Idolon 4 is simply just going to give her 30% more damage when she has Roaring Bowstrings up for herself. But she becomes an entirely different character once you get to Idolon 6, so if you're a Yukong enjoyer, you kind of already might know if you plan on picking Yukong for that E6. Yes, you can go for that, but if you're a brand new player, I would kind of stay away from her and pick some of these other options. Now, speaking of Idolons, we have Asta as well, and Asta's a character that I love near and dear to my heart. Listen, we got the E6 Asta. It's very, very, very good. Now, Asta does a lot of cool things. She's very good at applying toughness break gauge to enemies who are weak to the pyro fire element in this game. She also has the ability to give a substantial amount of speed increase to everyone in your party. We're looking at flat speed increase of 50, which is a ton in Honkai Star Rail. This allows you to make and break certain team break points for your entire team, trying to get extra cycles in something like the Memories of Chaos, or even in something like a Simulated Universe, right? Do extra speed stuff, but really this is for getting extra cycles in the Memory of Chaos, so you can get extra attacks and get extra damage in. And then obviously, not only does she break the gauge, does she not just give you speed increase for everything here as well, but she also gives a vast amount of attack increase for everyone in your party as well. So unlike Gwen, who was a Nihility character that does burns and stuff and applies a damage taken debuff to the enemies, you're gonna get an attack percent bonus on Asta, as well as a speed bonus for having her in your party as well. She does apply some burns, but nowhere near as much as someone like Gwen will do. Now, when we're talking about Idolons though, Asta has some really good Idolons, and I will say that she is good at Idolon 0, but she becomes oh so very good with some Idolons as well. So Idolon 1 here is just gonna make you do an extra hit with your skill. It's okay, it increases your toughness, break gauge capabilities. It's fine. We really wanna talk about Idolon 2. Now, Idolon 2 is gonna help you from losing stacks on Asta as often as you were before, because when you use your ultimate with this Idolon, you're not gonna actually lose any stacks of your attack buff from Asta the next turn, which is huge for you. It's going to help you maybe save some skill points, so you don't have to try to use her skill to regain your stacks anymore. You're going to keep those stacks at maximum. You'll be able to use a basic attack to generate a skill point for your team instead of using a skill point to make sure you have that max attack bonus up for your party as well. Idolon 4 is going to give you energy regen of 15% when she has 2 or more charging stacks. This one is insane. You can almost think about this as an extra piece of gear right? For your Asta, an extra 15 energy regen is almost like an extra energy regen rope for your Asta. And then Idolon 6 is just simply, it's good, it's fine, but once you have the proper energy recharge and you have the Idolon 2 and the Idolon 4, you probably won't really need this Idolon 6, which is going to reduce the stacks you lose every turn by 1. And I say this because, well, once you have this energy recharge, right, this energy regen from the Idolon 4, you have energy regeneration build on your Asta, you're gonna be using your ultimate a lot. It's not very hard to use once you actually gain access to Idolon 4, which means you're not gonna lose stacks all that often, period, anyway. So getting access to Idolon 6 to reduce the stack loss is fine, it's nice, you will get some value from it, but it's not entirely game breaking. That's really gonna be the Idolon 2 as well as the Idolon 4. So let me know who you're picking down below and I'll catch you guys in the next one.